Schrager. Here we go. Let's start with Daniel Jones. What have you got for us on him?
Just like it's a new studio here, I feel like early favorite for comeback player.
Tell me more.
He's going to win that starting job, and I think he's got a very good offense in Indianapolis. And a fresh new place with a fresh new start. It's going to be him and Anthony Richardson, who's dealing with an injury right now. Jones is going to have the leg up in that competition coming in because of that. And I believe that he and Shane Steichen might be able to put together a season in that. I believe it's a watered-down AFC South after Houston. This guy could be the one that we're talking about, like we talked about with Darnold last year.
There are opportunities to win there. What is your take, Danny, on Danny Dimes in this new opportunity?
Yeah, it's a good place for him. I think the ability to utilize his legs, which Shane Steichen likes for his quarterbacks, will be a prominent part. The huge question mark, the unknown, is the Anthony Richardson health. I mean, Peter goes, I think he's going to win the job. Will it almost be given to him? Because off of last week, and Anthony Richardson's news was he should be back for training camp. But this is a good place for any Mitchell in his year 2. It's a good place for Daniel Jones if he is the starting quarterback. I just don't think it's the ideal desire of the organization. They should want Anthony Richardson to be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, look, you draft a guy as high as they did. They took him 4th overall, which surprised a lot of people. You want to justify all that, but at some point it becomes time to cut bait.
Sure.
And if Daniel Jones gives them a better chance to do it, this is not a staff that I would think has the luxury of time. Peter, the next one is Jared Goff. What do you want to tell us about him?
I think Jared Goff is the single most important player in the NFC this season. There has been a raid of his coaching staff from the last several years. 6 different coaches gone, including Ben Johnson, and now you're telling me that Frank Ragnow, his longtime center, in addition to other members of the offensive line, are no longer there as well. I think Jared Goff has had an amazing career arc where it went from success right away with McVay, then to be discarded, and then to show that, hey, no, I can still play in this game, Pro Bowls, the whole deal. Last year they came up short in the playoffs, and now you're taking not only his head coach, but the offensive line coach, you're taking so many other coaches from that team, and now you got to say, hey, we pay you big money. Jared Goff, are we going to be the same team, or are we going to take a massive step back? Because if he is one of those top quarterbacks, they should still be the best team in the NFC North this year.
That's the question. They were the best team in the NFC last year. They dropped like flies. That defense was a mash unit, unfortunately. They still got the 1 seed. As Peter points out, they lose everybody, and the Eagles now are everybody's pick. Are the Lions, in your mind, Dean Wood, the biggest threat to the Eagles in the NFC?
No. Rams. Rams are the biggest.
Goff's old team.
Yes. Goff's old team. Rams are the biggest threat. Have you seen that young front 7 of the Rams?
Yeah.
They might be the best young front 7 in the National Football League. Okay, Matthew Stafford, that offensive line is really good. They got, Devontae Adams to go along with Puka Nacua. Like, they got weapons galore. I love the Rams.
Talking about Goff, though, let me go back to that.
Yeah.
What do you expect from him now?
I think
a lot of us attributed a lot of his recent success to the scheme, to the system, to all the talent around him. To Peter's point, now he can prove, no.
Yeah.
This was me being awesome all along.
Jared Goff's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He's done it for multiple years. Anybody who says he isn't, don't talk football with them. I do think Peter's point, the most important, is fascinating because if Detroit cannot really skip a beat, knowing they lost both those coordinators, and that Frank Ragnow, their center retirement, could be the biggest loss of any team in the NFL this year. If Jared can kind of weather that and get them back, not only does it elevate, it should, the perception of him, it should also elevate the perception of Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. I think Detroit takes them because of that Ragnow. There's so many times, what do you know this, where Jared and Ragnow would be at the line of scrimmage pointing out, no, we're this, we go here, we go. Everybody knew what they were doing because of those 2 guys. That's an enormous loss.
They also play in a very tough division, and that brings us to our last Schrager bomb. Give me something on a couple of other NFC North quarterbacks.
I think there's more pressure for J.J. McCarthy, the second-year quarterback in Minnesota. More pressure on him for success right away than there is on Caleb Williams, the former 1st overall pick in Chicago. We're focusing so much on Caleb this offseason, and we're just assuming that everything is fine in Minnesota because O'Connell and Kwesi decided to put their faith in J.J. McCarthy, that we know that this team is going to be just as good as they were a year ago. Chicago has such an uphill climb. Minnesota, we expect them to be in the commercial.
Why does Chicago have an uphill climb?
Look at the last 2 decades. What are we talking about?
Okay, so
They were last in the division last year, and Minnesota played for the 1 seed in the final week.
Minnesota has everything you can want there already. It's just plug and play. Caleb Williams, you're asking him to learn a new coach, a new offensive coordinator, an entirely new skill set of players where they've added in Loveland and added in Groot Burden. There is a lot more for Caleb.
I'll tell you one thing, though. It's really hard as a quarterback to do all that and not have the people than to do it with the people. They got the people. I mean, I'll go back to when Sean McVay went to L.A., it was like, oh, Jared Goff doesn't stink. When Mike McDaniel went to Tua, it was like, oh, man, Tua can play. And so now there's not going to be any grace of, like, middle of October, Caleb Williams is struggling, and all. You have one of the hottest offensive minds in football. You're going to have a top 10 offensive line. You've got first-round pick, second-round pick, first-round pick at perimeter player. This is not an easy place, but like this is a place where a quarterback who is as talented as Caleb
Sam Darnold won 14 games last year, and they're like, we're good. We're good. We got another guy.
But here's the thing. They will be. And I say that I love J.J. McCarthy. It's the easiest place to go play quarterback. You should go play well there. If you're worth the salt, you should go play well in Minnesota.
Which I think is why, I think you're making Peter's point for him.
Why there's so much more pressure.
There's a lot, because
I think it'll happen.
Well, okay, fair enough. If it happens, then it happens. If it doesn't happen,
you let Sam Darnold walk, and you said, we're good.
Here, tell me if you like this analogy. The New York Knicks had this great season. They were knocking on the door, and they decided we're going to change coaches at this point because we want someone to take us over the top. Vikings did the same thing. They played for the 1 seed, the last game of the regular season. Sam Darnold had a career year. They let him walk. This kid, because they believe he's the one who can take them to the next level. That's a lot of pressure on a guy who has never played an NFL game.
I love it. Because you understand within the organization what a guy's limitations are. I'm sure, like Kevin O'Connell and company saw Sam Darnold every day. They saw him every day, and they said in their mind, this guy can only take us so far. We got a young stud that we drafted in the first round, that we traded up for,
but he was
to get to draft in the first round, that we feel is tailor-made for what we want to do in Minnesota.
It is Chicago.
Yeah.
They are starving for their quarterback. This is Caleb Williams, who is the unbelievably highly regarded high school prospect, who went to Oklahoma, gets on the field versus Texas, and we're like, whoa. He transfers to USC. He's living an unbelievable life because of the makeup of college football at USC. The expectations were ridiculously high. He was the shoo-in #1 pick. Jayden Daniels goes 2 and wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. He comes out a couple weeks ago in a report and says, I initially didn't want to go to Chicago and tried to make that happen, not be the case. They go get the hot shot offensive line. Dude, the pressure on him to go play well is enormous.
Well, first of all, you need to point that smoke to Peter, because I'm in agreement with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think you need to point that smoke to Peter.
It's enormous.
The pressure, here's the flip side of that, though. If J.J. McCarthy, listen, J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold were different for a variety of reasons.
Right.
And the finances were a big part of that.
Yes.
If Sam Darnold wasn't going to cost you any more than J.J. McCarthy, would he still be the quarterback in Minnesota?
They could have franchise tagged him. They didn't do that either. And I would argue that, yes, the first overall pick that's on a platter, like, you should be that good. J.J. McCarthy was the 4th